Let me ask you something. Are you a security manager? Or are you a business leader who just happens to specialize in security? It's a big difference, and today we're going to explore how you can make that leap, from the server room right into the boardroom. So yeah, let's get into it.
Think about it. Is your job really just about locks and cameras? Or is it something bigger? Something about the future of the whole business? Most people in security, they think tactically. We're talking locks, cameras, guards, the day-to-day stuff. But what if I told you that the lock on your server room door is directly connected to the company's long-term vision, and maybe even its stock price? In this explainer, we're going to show you just how strategic your role really is, probably way more than you think.
So how do you make that leap? Well, we've broken it down into a 5-step blueprint. First, we'll talk about getting security a real seat at the table. Then, we'll decode the company's DNA. After that, we'll get into something called the SOX effect. You'll see what that's about. Then we'll build your master plan, and finally, we'll look at how your role goes way beyond just securing a facility.
Okay, first up, getting that seat at the table. To even have a chance, you've got to understand the rules of the game at the highest level, and that game is called corporate governance. Honestly, you can think of it as the core operating system for the entire company.
So what in the world is corporate governance? Well, it's the whole system, right? The rules, the practices, the processes that direct and control a company. And it's not just about making money. It's about balancing the interests of everyone involved. This is the high-level conversation that takes security from being just a cost on the spreadsheet to a real strategic partner. Now, you really need to pay attention to this slide because this distinction is absolutely crucial. We hear stakeholder and shareholder thrown around all the time, sometimes like they mean the same thing. They don't. A shareholder? That's simple. They own stock, they have a financial stake. But a stakeholder, that's anyone affected by what the company does. We're talking employees, customers, even the local community. And let me tell you, truly strategic governance and strategic security has to think about both. All right, so we get the rules of the game. Now let's look at the company's internal compass. If you really want to align with the business, you have to decode its DNA. That means its mission, its vision, and its values. This is the organization's North Star, and it should guide every single security decision you make. First up is the mission statement. Now, the key thing to remember here, and it's a big one, is that it's always in the present tense. It answers the question, what do we do right now today? So for, say, a transport company, that might be something like to provide the safest and most reliable transportation. It's all about their current purpose. The vision statement, on the other hand, is all about the future. It's looking down the road. It answers the question, where do we want to be in 5 or 10 years? So that same transport company, their vision might be to become the world's leading provider of eco-friendly logistics. See the difference? It's not what they are today, it's their big ambition. So let's just lock this in because it's so important. Mission is your purpose today. Vision is your ambition for the future. And hey, understanding this isn't just some academic exercise. This exact distinction, it's a classic question on professional certification exams like the CCP. So you definitely want to know this. And here is exactly why this matters so much for you. This quote on the screen, it says it all. If your company's whole mission is about openness and community, but your security strategy is all fortress walls and armed guards, well, you have a massive fundamental misalignment. You're not just doing your job a little off, you are actively working against the company's core identity. All right, get ready for a bit of a curveball here. What if I told you that one of the biggest drivers for your physical security strategy isn't your boss? It's not the CEO, it's the accounting department. Yeah, let's talk about what I call the SOX effect. To get this, we have to jump in a time machine and go back to the early 2000s. You might remember this. Huge accounting scandals at companies like Enron and WorldCom, they just vaporized billions of dollars and totally shattered public trust. The government had to step in and do something big. And that something big was the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, or SOX for short. At its heart, SOX was created to force public companies to prove their financial reports were accurate, and they had to do that by proving they had strong internal controls in place to prevent fraud. Okay, so what does an accounting fraud law have to do with the lock on your server room door? Well, as it turns out, pretty much everything. Here it is. Here's the connection. SOX requires companies to prove they can protect financial data from being messed with or flat out stolen. So think about it, if an unauthorized person can just waltz into a server room and get to the systems, or worse, walk out with a hard drive, the company instantly fails its audit.
All of a sudden, that simple door lock isn't just a security thing anymore. It's a legally required financial control that the CEO has to personally sign off on. That's a game changer.
So we get the high-level governance. We get these external pressures. The big question is, how do you actually translate all this knowledge into a real plan of action? The answer is something called a security master plan. This is your blueprint for strategic leadership. You should think of the Security Master Plan as your department's strategic vision for the next, say, 3 to 5 years. This is the document. This is what you take to the C-suite or the board to prove that security isn't just a line-item expense, but that it's a critical piece of the puzzle for the company's long-term goals.
And a really powerful master plan has 5 key parts, which you can see right here. First, you start with your current state analysis. Basically, where are we right now? This is your risk assessment. Then you do a gap analysis. What's missing? Maybe you have old analog cameras that need upgrading. Next, and this is huge, you have to understand the business's future requirements. Where's the company going? Are they expanding? From there, you build an implementation roadmap. How and when will we get there over the next few years? And finally, the part that gets everyone's attention, the budget estimates. How much will it all cost? This includes what's called CapEx, or capital expenditures, those big investments in new systems. This right here is what strategic leadership looks like on paper.
Okay, for our final piece, let's zoom out one last time to the biggest picture. In today's world, it's not enough for a company to just make a profit. More and more, they're judged on their positive impact on society. This is called corporate social responsibility, or CSR. And guess what? It's an area where security can make a huge, huge contribution. So what is CSR? Simply put, it's how a company manages its impact on society and the environment. It's a really key part of modern corporate governance, and it gives you, as a security leader, another powerful way to show value that goes way beyond the traditional fence line. And this isn't just some vague idea. Here are some real, tangible ways your department can contribute. We're talking about human rights, making sure your guard forces are operating ethically, sustainability, choosing energy-efficient cameras and devices, and community, actively partnering with local neighborhoods on safety programs. Every one of these actions directly supports the company's bigger social goals and protects them from reputational risk.
So that brings us right back to where we started, that first question. After seeing how security plugs into corporate governance, financial regulations, and even social responsibility, are you a security manager, or are you a business leader who specializes in security? The choice, and believe me, the opportunity, is all yours.